let's be clear about something. The fundamental nature of warfare is changing right now, before our very eyes. So what makes a weapon truly terrifying today? It's not just about the size of the explosion anymore. No. It's the weapon that hits you before you even know it was launched. It's the one that thinks for itself. We're about to break down exactly how these technologies are making that a reality. So here's our intelligence briefing. We're going to cover 6 critical areas that are reshaping the modern battlefield. We'll start with the new rules of engagement, then dive into the hypersonic revolution, the rise of autonomous weapons, and the AI-powered kill web that ties it all together. From there, we'll look at the new strategic fault lines this creates, and finally, peer into the unseen battlefield that lies just ahead. All right, to really get a handle on this new era, you have to throw out the old rulebook. Victory is no longer a simple math problem of who has more tanks or more ships. A completely new set of principles is defining what it means to be powerful. So let's go back to that central question. What really puts fear into a modern military? It's not just raw brute force anymore. The capabilities that are most feared today are rooted in something way more subtle, something almost insidious. The ability to act with a speed and an intelligence that humans just can't match. It really boils down to 4 key ideas. First, you have speed, which shrinks an enemy's chance to react from minutes down to seconds. Then there's invisibility, the power to see your target and strike without ever being seen yourself. Third is autonomy, where the weapons themselves make the decisions. And the last one, inevitability. This is the real kicker. It's the absolute certainty that once an attack is launched, there is nothing you can do to stop it. Let's start with that first principle, speed. And honestly, nothing screams speed quite like the hypersonic revolution. This isn't just a small step forward. We're talking about a leap that threatens to make entire multi-billion-dollar defense networks totally obsolete. So the key piece of tech here is something called a hypersonic glide vehicle, or HGV. How does it work? Well, it launches on a normal rocket, but then it detaches, and instead of just falling in a predictable arc, it surfs along the edge of the atmosphere. It's actively flying, making sharp, unpredictable turns, all while traveling at over 5 times the speed of sound. And this slide right here shows you exactly why that matters. A classic ballistic missile, it travels in a high predictable arc, like a long-range cannonball. Our entire missile defense system is built to calculate that arc and intercept it. But a hypersonic weapon, it flies low and fast, and it can jink and weave. It can actively evade radar and interceptors. For a defender, that shrinks your reaction time from minutes down to just a few seconds. That's not just a change, that's a whole new game. And make no mistake, this isn't science fiction. These systems are real. Russia claims its avant-garde HGV can bypass any existing missile shield. China's DF-17 is already in service, and it's designed to dominate its region. Russia's Zircon missile is a naval threat so fast, it could potentially neutralize an entire aircraft carrier group, which is the cornerstone of American power projection. Meanwhile, the U.S. is racing to catch up with weapons like the ARRW, which can be launched from a bomber and blurs that very scary line between a conventional strike and a strategic one. Now, let's move to the next evolution, which builds right on top of that incredible speed. We are now handing off life or death decisions from human beings to machines. This is the beginning of autonomous warfare, where the weapon itself actually starts to think. And this is happening everywhere you look. Under the sea, you have Russia's Poseidon, which is essentially a giant nuclear-armed autonomous torpedo designed to cause devastation on coastlines. In the air, you have systems like Israel's Harop, a loitering munition that can circle a battlefield for hours, find its own target, and decide on its own when to attack. And at sea, the U.S. Navy's LRSM anti-ship missile can autonomously find and prioritize which enemy ship to hit in a crowded battle, all without a human in the loop. You know, this quote from the Special Warfare Journal really nails the unique power of those loitering munitions. They aren't just a missile, and they aren't just a surveillance drone. They're a hybrid, a perfect combination of both. They give you patient, real-time eyes on the target, and then, in an instant, they become the weapon. We've all seen how these kamikaze drones have been a complete tactical game-changer, especially in Ukraine. They give small infantry units their own on-demand air force, which keeps soldiers out of harm's way. But there's a catch. They have major drawbacks. A single American Switchblade 600, for example, costs around $170,000. They're also highly vulnerable to electronic jamming, and they don't pack a very big punch. Okay, so we've got hypersonic speed, and we've got autonomous platforms. But the real revolution The thing that changes everything is when you use artificial intelligence to connect them all together. This brings us to the AI-powered kill web, where the algorithm itself becomes the deadliest weapon on the field. And that's the core idea here. We have to shift our thinking. We're moving away from fearing the physical drone or the missile and moving towards fearing the intelligence that guides it. The hardware, you see, is just the delivery mechanism. The real threat is the AI network that's processing all the data, picking out targets, and coordinating attacks at machine speed. So let me walk you through how this actually works. Step 1, a platform like an F-35 uses its incredible sensors to build a complete 360-degree picture of the battle. Step 2, an AI system like the Pentagon's Project Maven instantly analyzes all that data and identifies potential threats. And finally, step 3, an autonomous weapon like that Haroop drone is automatically assigned to strike the target. The whole process takes a fraction of the time it would take a human chain of command. And you need to understand, this isn't just about shooting faster. AI is weaving its way into the entire fabric of the military. It's being used for everything from wargaming and mission planning, all the way down to the mind-bogglingly complex job of managing logistics and supply chains. So when you have all these technologies spreading around the globe, it doesn't just change battlefield tactics, oh no. It creates entirely new strategic fault lines. It reshapes geopolitics, it redefines industry, and it introduces a whole new level of global risk. Well, the first and most obvious consequence is staring us right in the face, a new global arms race. As tensions rise, just look at Europe. Their defense spending is projected to more than triple in the next 6 years alone. Defense is now the fastest-growing economic sector on the continent, as every nation scrambles to get their hands on these next-gen weapons. But here's the thing. The race isn't just about who can buy the most weapons. It's about who can build them. And this is where a huge vulnerability for the West emerges. The key materials needed for all this advanced tech, like rare earth metals, are highly concentrated. China controls 90% of the world's processing capacity. That means the supply chain itself has become a powerful strategic weapon. And beyond the industrial base, military AI brings its own unique, terrifying risks. What happens when an AI misinterprets a signal and escalates a tense standoff into a full-blown war? What if an AI trained to fight in a forest is deployed to a desert and fails catastrophically? And maybe the biggest question of all, when a black box algorithm makes a fatal mistake, who's to blame? The decision is hidden inside lines of code, making accountability almost impossible. And all of this brings us to our final and maybe most important frontier. The really tough battles ahead won't be fought over land or sea. They'll be fought over questions of control, ethics, and policy. How in the world do we govern technologies that are evolving faster than we can even understand them? Well, experts are already shouting from the rooftops about some clear red lines we need to draw, and fast. Number 1, an absolute unbreakable ban on letting AI have any control over nuclear weapons, period. Number 2, we need international standards to test and validate these autonomous systems. 3, we must ban any AI general that could autonomously command human soldiers. And 4, we have to figure out the legal status of all the civilian AI infrastructure that could be co-opted for war. And that leaves us with the ultimate question for this entire new era of conflict. When an algorithm, in a single millisecond, makes a decision that costs human lives, who is ultimately accountable? Is it the programmer who wrote the code, the commander who deployed the system, or is it the machine itself? That's the fundamental, haunting dilemma we all now have to face.